All right, all right. Cool deal. And let's get into it. Get that there. All right. Give me 1 second. All right. So today, what are we going to talk about today, Ryan? Emotion is created by motion. All right. Um, we lead ourselves every day, right? We lead ourselves every day. So I'm glad that each of you continue to show up and lead yourself. All right. The camera looks crazy. 1 second, everybody. Technical difficulties this morning, but we're gonna get it together. We are gonna get it together. Okay, let's give this another shot. All right, let's get us another shot. All right. Still wild. Still crazy. But let's get to it. I'm glad you guys show up to lead yourself every day. That's the first person that you will always lead in your life, right? Um, what we're going to dive in today is power, right? It's the difference between being at mercy, being at the mercy of your emotions and mastering them in real time, right? So I'm going to start with a question, as always, right? Have you ever had a day where nothing really changed on the outside, but everything felt different on the inside? Where you were just in a state of this just feels different, right? Anybody ever been there? I have. Um, maybe you suddenly felt unstoppable for no apparent reason, right? Or on the flip side, maybe you felt anxious or overwhelmed, right? Even though everything looked fine on paper, right? It's not random, right? It's not just a mood, right? That's your state, right? So today we're going to dive into taking control of your state on command. All right. Because when you shift your state, you shift your story. Right. And when you shift your story, you shift your standards, your habits, and ultimately you shift your life. Right. So these are tools that we're going to go over today. Um, it's an extremely powerful tool of the mind, right? And it gives you immediate control over how you feel and how you show up, right? Emotion is created by motion. Write that down. Emotion is created by motion. And I want you to say it out loud as you write it down. Emotion is created by motion. It's not just a cute phrase. It's it's neuroscience, right? It's performance psychology in real life, right? You want to feel joy, move differently. You want more confidence, change your posture. You want to stop feeling stuck, interrupt your pattern with motion, right? Most people believe that emotions just happen to them. And like the emotion like like the emotion fairy just shows up and sprinkles some depression dust on their Tuesday. No, you don't get depressed, you do depression. Right? It's a pattern. And like any pattern, it can be unlearned, interrupted, and replaced. Right? So I'm gonna break this down through what's called the triad of state. And this is how your emotional state is created and how you can take back the control over your emotions at any given moment. All right. And that triad is three forces that shape every emotion. Right. And the first is physiology. First is how you move your body. All right. This is the first way to change how you feel is you your body leads your emotions always. Always. If you think back and if you start to pay attention to your emotional state as you go through your day and you look at how is my body? How am I sitting? Right? How am I breathing? What's my posture saying? Right? If your shoulders are slumped, you lower your head, you breathe extremely shallow, right? You speak with a soft, defeated voice, you're gonna feel defeated. Right? Not because life sucks, but because your nervous system is getting the cue to shut down, right? But if you lift your chest and you breathe deeply and you move with certainty, suddenly I'm in a peak state. Not because life changed, but because I changed it, right? So right now, I want everybody to sit up, pull your shoulders back, breathe deeply, and own the space you're in. This is state shift number one, right? State shift number one is your physiology, right? And so as you're going through your day, I want you to pay attention to your emotional state and your energy and your physiology, how you're moving your body, how you're sitting, how you're standing, right? Important. Number one. Okay. Number two is language and focus, right? What you say and what you focus on. Whether you realize it or not, you're constantly running commentary in your mind all the time. I catch myself daily, right? Daily, my shoulders might be slumped, right? And I feel tired. And I'm like, Ryan, what are you doing? Right. And I assess my body, I change my posture, I assess my breathing, and I'll just start taking deep breaths and forcefully breathing out. And I also think through what thoughts are going through your mind right now, right? And the words you use internally and externally, they either empower you or they drain you, right? Someone says, I'm overwhelmed. I bet you are, right? But what you're really saying is, I'm afraid I can't handle this, right? Stress is just fear in disguise, right? Most achievers, they won't admit that they're fearful, right? It doesn't sound strong enough, right? Some call it stress, right? But the body doesn't care what you call it. It reacts the exact same way. Your heart rate increases, your muscles tighten up, and your focus narrows, right? That comes from history of of what's the word I'm looking for? Um, what's the word I'm looking for? Safety, right? Safety, right? Your heart rate increases, your muscles tighten up, and your focus narrows because your brain is telling you there's fear around, there's a threat nearby, right? So here's what I want you to do. The next time you feel stressed, say to yourself, am I feeling pressure because I care, right? Or I'm sorry, change that from a question to a statement. I'm feeling pressure because I care. Say this to yourself next time you feel stressed. I'm feeling pressure because I care, right? I can handle this. I've got tools and I've got power. Say that to yourself next time you feel stressed, right? And shift your focus from the problem to the next step, right? Where your focus goes, energy flows, right? And that includes your emotional energy. So if you work to focus on changing that to the energy, right? And the solution and the next step, now you're focused on creating energy. Okay. So remember, where focus goes, energy flows. And we have the ability to choose where we put that, right? So shifting your physiology, number one. Number two, changing your focus in your words, right? Your language and your focus. The words we choose to say externally and internally, and what we focus on, focusing on the next steps and the solutions and the energy creation, not the energy draining, right? And number three in this triad is beliefs and meanings, right? What you believe and what you make that belief mean, right? Every time something happens in your life, your brain asks one question, and it's what does this mean? What does this mean? And the meaning you assign instantly shapes your emotion, right? And it'll change your physiology and it'll change the words that you choose, right? So let me give you an example. Let's say you let's say you launch a new product, right? Something new and no one buys it, right? You're launching your brand new business and nobody buys your product. One person may say, this means I'm not good enough. This means I'm not good enough. And that thought spiral just goes. Well, why did you do this in the first place? I knew you wouldn't be any good, right? The other person says, this means I'm learning, I'm adjusting, right? And I have an opportunity to make some changes to come back stronger. And they grow and they learn and they evolve. That minimum viable product wasn't it. So we're going to make some changes. Maybe we start making some changes just to our sales pitch first. And we start looking at next steps and finding solutions to test, to get more data, to then test again, to get more data, to reevaluate, and then test again. Right? Same event, totally different state. And what changed? What changed is the meaning that they gave it and the belief that they assigned to that meaning. Right? So my question for you is, what meanings have you been assigning that are no longer serving you? When things happen in your life, what meanings are you assigning that no longer serve you? They might have helped you get through a past emotional experience, but today they do not serve you. What meanings are you assigning? Right? Because if you want new results, you need a new pattern. If you want new results, you need a new pattern. So we have to start today at assigning new meanings. and creating those new beliefs around those meanings, right? So let's recap. The triad of state, physiology, move with power, breathe with intention, and shift your posture, right? Immediately, you're able to change your emotional state. Number two is language and focus, right? Watch your self-talk and shift your focus to the outcome. Where are we going? What are we searching for, right? Not the obstacle that's in the way, but the solution, right? Number three of the triad is beliefs and meanings. Reframe the situation, choose a meaning that empowers you, that moves you, that drives you, right? Every emotion you experience, good or bad, is built through these three forces, right? And the good news of all of this is you can master all three. And when you do, you become you become emotionally bulletproof, meaning you have the ability to create the shield that protects the emotions, and you have the ability to choose the emotions for each moment, right? So you're not a robot. We're not robots, right? You're going to feel the ups and downs of life. Things are going to happen all the time. But this triad gives you something that most people never get, and that's control, right? Not over the outside world, but over how you experience it. And when you change your emotional state, you change your decisions. You change your decisions, you then change your actions. You change your actions, you change your life. So we're going to stop reacting to the world around us and we're going to start creating it. That's the triad. Now let's talk about standards, all right? Because most people, most people don't want to admit, right? But your life right now, the results that you have, your energy, your income, your relationships, is a direct reflection of your standards. Not your dreams, not your goals, not your vision board, but your standards. Your standards are usually shaped by your peer group, right? Your life is a direct reflection of the expectations of your peer group. Because we have our own things, but we still take the opinions of others and we value them, right? And so a lot of times we we make ourselves the smartest person in the room, right? Think about it. You hang around people who sleep in, who complain, who coast through life. You'll eventually do the same thing, right? Even if you're motivated to do different, right? Because it's what you see constantly. We talk about the reticular activation system. What you see becomes the important thing. And what you surround yourself with, you start to retrain your reticular activation system subconsciously to only see those things. Right. But surrounding yourself with people who wake up early, who take care of their health, who invest in themselves, who raise the bar, that becomes the new normal. Right? Because we adopt to the energy, the values, and the standards of the people around us. And so when you hear people talk about looking at the five people you spend the most time with, and then look at the results that you have, you'll be within a certain percentage, right? It's because we what I want you to do is I want you to take a second to think about this honestly, right? And really think about those five people that you spend the most time with, right? Who do you spend the most time talking to? Like really, really think about this. Who do you spend the most time talking to? And I want you to ask yourself, what are their standards for their health? What are their standards for their finances? What are their standards for communication, ownership, joy, growth? What are they? What are their standards? Right? That's your mirror. Right? And if you're not happy with the reflection that you get back, it's time to shift your circle and raise the temperature in the room. Right? Now I want you to hear me. This isn't about cutting people off, right? But it's about taking full ownership of your environment and deciding that your life deserves a higher standard, right? Take a little bit deeper. Because raising your standard once is easy, right? We've all done it. New diet, new planner, new goals. We've done that, right? Generally by January 20th, those things are out the window. But here's the real work, right? Conditioning that standard until it becomes your identity, right? Raising your standard and conditioning it until it becomes who you are, right? So you go from I want to be healthy to I don't miss workouts. This is who I am. I want to be more focused to I don't get distracted. I own my mornings, right? From I want to feel confident to I create confidence on command. I decide how I feel, right? Your identity isn't fixed, it's installed. It's installed. And the way that you install it is by repetition, reinforcement, and immersion. Completely immersing yourself in that experience and continuing to repeat and reinforce, right? That's conditioning. It's by feeling good now, not when. It's choosing to change and reinforcing until you train your nervous system, you train your reticular activation system to know this means go. We don't want to wait to feel good, right? We all fall into the trap sometimes of someday I'll feel excited. Or when I make X money, I'll feel excited, right? I'll be more confident when I lose 20 pounds, right? I'll enjoy the journey once I hit my goals. Someday is a lie. Someday is not a day on the calendar, right? If you wait until the circumstances change to feel good, you'll never feel good consistently, right? So let me give you a reframe. Feeling good is a standard, not a reward. Feeling good is a standard, not a reward, right? Say it with me. Feeling good is the standard, not the reward. You don't have to wait for external things to line up to raise your energy. You decide to feel good now, right? And then you bring that energy into your actions, into your leadership, into your relationships. And then guess what? You get the very thing that you've been waiting for. You get the reward because you chose now to feel that way, right? Let me ask you this. What's one standard in your life that you've let slide, but you're ready to raise that bar? Drop it into the chat. What's one standard in your life that you've let slide that you're ready to raise the bar? Drop it into the chat. Health and exercise. Allowing people to control your emotions. Uh-huh. I dig it. Awesome. Awesome, right? Now, what would you change if you made feeling good and leading with power a daily baseline instead of a someday goal? What would you change if you made feeling good and leading with power the baseline instead of a someday goal? It was one thing that you would change if that was the standard. You can have that shift right now, not later, not after the next promotion, not after the next launch, right? Or the next life event, but you can have it now. Because when you raise your standards and you condition them until they're a part of your identity, doing it over and over and over and over and over again, daily, your life changes, right? When you decide to make a change, your life changes and you condition. You do it over and over and over again when you decide. So today we have a decision to make. Take a deep breath with me real quick. In through your nose, out through your mouth. This is what I want you to walk away with today. Your emotions aren't random. They're created by you through motion, through focus, through meaning. And the beautiful thing about it is if you create frustration, you can create confidence. If you can spiral into overwhelm, you can climb into certainty. If you can do stress, you can do power. Emotion is created by motion, and you have the ability to condition yourself to feel good now. You have that ability. You have that power to do that now, not someday. So this week, your job is to practice. Don't just understand it, but condition it, right? Change your posture before tough call, right? Reframe the story before self-doubt kicks in. Move your body like the leader you already are and choose to take action on those things that you said were someday. Your health, exercise, controlling your emotions, not giving other people the power to control your emotions. You're not at the mercy of how you feel, but you get to create it. And you're not at the mercy of your external circumstances. You own that. And today's the day you take that back. Today's the day that you choose that feeling good is the standard. And it's a requirement to do whatever it takes to ensure that feeling good is the standard. You wake up feeling good, and everything else comes after that. That's the new standard. That's the new standard. That's our mission this week, is to practice those things over and over and over again, 4, 5, 6, 7 times a day. Assess your body, assess your physiology, assess the thoughts that you have, assess the beliefs and the meanings that you've assigned to those events surrounding it. And ask yourself, am I feeling good now? And what do I need to do to feel good now? That's Mindset Monday, good people. Doors open. Thoughts, questions, feedback.
What up, though?
Good morning, Joy. What's the deal?
Slow motion. Um, this session will be a post-it note on added things that I have been doing to control my anger. Um, what I did was the feeling I remember when I first started, you held the session of remembering where the feeling originally came from.
Mhm.
And I sat there in meditation to isolate when I first felt, anger, what made me angry. And I figured it out, came to the understanding. And in my instance, I was a person, I'm a nice person. Wasn't manipulated, but I'm not about to argue, but at the same time, a lot of people took advantage of me.
Mhm.
And because I held my anger in, and what happened was, I guess tucked away, you hold it in so long. As the kids call it, they call it a crash out. I have a crash out from holding in too long. So
Mhm.
what I started doing was, when I felt that anger, and if it was with an individual, I have a tendency to talk like, hey, to talk my feelings out. But these days, people are not accountable for their actions. People are not going to admit their wrongdoings and stuff like that. And, it get flipped and dipped, turned back around. So, I just, as you said, I cut people off. Um, but then I got the courage to come back out and start being social. And, what I did was just try to change the conversation, try to change the conversation. Um, but at the same time, I just sit back and I just um try not to let it control me. Try not to let the conversation, like, I know I come on here and I talk about Trump. I'm very passionate about it because my great grandmother was a child of a sharecropper that was born into, on the fields picking whatever
Mhm.
crop. I forgot the crop that they was picking. And our families worked so hard to get where we needed to go for it to be turned over. It's just, sentimental. But at the same time, I know I can control my feelings and emotions, because things I don't have control over. And that's what I have to remind myself. There are things I'm not in control of, and I can't be angry at that. And for the things that I am control of, just push. Take a second, think about it, breathe, and work through it and let it go.
What if I told you, Joy, that most people don't even know how to go about admitting their wrongdoings?
I lived it, understand it.
And so if they don't know how because they haven't been conditioned to understand those things or even evaluate themselves at that level, because they come from a broken past, right? And they're broken people, just like we are in
Mm-hmm.
other ways, right? Can we choose to say, I understand that you're broken, and that's on top of, I'm not going to give you the power to control my emotions. So we give them grace because they're broken and they don't even
Mm-hmm.
understand what we're even trying to convey. and we can move on because we have the power to choose.
Mm-hmm.
Allow them to stay where they are. I don't hate you. This is where you are. This is where I'm going. And we choose to take steps in the opposite direction of that power,
And
of that
generally,
excitement, of that
and
feeling good now.
and generally, what I do say, I have problems, you have problems, but one thing I'm not going to do is say your problem or my problem is worse than each other. I'm not about to sit up here and compare. And we could just let this be and move on. And it'd just be funny.
I dig it. I dig it. Some things to think about on how we control those situations and how we remove ourselves from those situations to continue to grow and evolve and not still feel like we have to own those situations. Greatly appreciate you sharing, Joy. Always, always. Great learnings coming from those conversations. Any other thoughts, feedback, questions?
Great session, Ryan. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Donna.
I think I loved when you said feeling good is a standard, not a reward. I think for me, I never heard it that way. So it's a good perspective.
We got to raise them, man. We got to raise them. And this is me talking to myself too, right? This is me talking to myself too. We got to raise our standard in order to live the lives that we say we desire to live. It's a must. It's a must, not a should. It's a must. Appreciate it, bro. All right, good people. You got your homework for the week. I'll drop a worksheet into the community, right? And you guys can go through that worksheet that goes through the things that we talked about today. But that's your homework, right? Feeling good now and choosing your physiology, choosing your thoughts and your words, and choosing the beliefs and the meanings. That's your power. Take it back this week. All right, we're back at it tomorrow morning, 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the pre-nerve session. You guys have a phenomenal Monday. Peace.